Do you think that Lil Baby's going to come out as big as he was, or do you think Baby's on a decline right now? And I'll just say this. There is now a plethora of artists that are coming out who are saying first week numbers don't matter. We're so tired of this. I remember there was a post, I forgot whose page it was on, where Fivio Foreign, they posted that. And I just made a comment. I said, listen, everyone wants to say the numbers don't matter when their numbers are declining. Let's just all admit that numbers matter. And people are like, oh, fuck you, Vlad, you're the fans. And he's like, oh, haha, look at those comments, Vlad. And I'm like, you need to pay attention to the numbers rather than the comments, Fivio, because your numbers are in decline. Corday said, oh, I'm getting tired of, I know people that do 60K first week and, they do stadiums. Look, Polo G's numbers are down. People like to say numbers don't matter when their numbers aren't what they used to be, but numbers really do matter.
We ain't hear Glorilla say
all of the big dogs, the Drakes, the Taylor Swifts, the Kendricks, they're all expecting big 6-digit numbers when they drop. If they do a 5-digit first week, it's going to matter.
Numbers matter. It always matters.
It always matters.
The only conversation I would have with those people is that, hey, maybe we should look at sales in a more realistic perspective in terms of consumption. But a metric is going to, does your bank account matter? Does the numbers under contract matter? Of course, it all matters.
Yeah.
You get to realize, it's like we do YouTube. It's like me saying views don't matter.
Yeah.
Views don't matter.
You never hear YouTubers say that. Views don't matter. It's about the content.
Now I hear some YouTube say it, but those are the failures. They'll be like, nah, man, the ones that fell off, they'll be like, man, I used to get all that, but it ain't about views no more. Okay, cool. That's your way to explain.
Well, when you don't get views, you don't get money.
Exactly.
So it is what it is.
So that's a coping mechanism. I get it that sometimes, these days, first week sales, there's a lot of different ways that people are consuming music. I'll give you a couple examples. Fortnite you can listen to a whole Ice Spice song in Fortnite. I don't know if that necessarily counts. Meta, the music industry is focused on Meta a lot. They're making a shit ton of money. Meta is paying them directly from you have the music hovering over. They've actually said it's gaining so much. It gained 3 times since the last quarter. So they're making a lot more money elsewhere, not just actual DSPs and buying, but I think include everything in the mix. We need numbers though.
Yeah. People
who act like numbers should not be in the mix are just people who they don't know how to answer to their fans and other people. And also, this is a thing I've heard a lot. I've heard these artists have this conversation with me a lot. They said, Gilly even sent this. He said, yo, y'all got to stop focusing on first week number because y'all scared to drop. And he sent it to me and said, man, y'all talk to these guys privately. A lot of them keep mentioning you. You report the numbers and you shame them. You turn their positive press into negative press. So, and this is a real thing. Artists will not drop. I know an artist who said, yeah, I ain't dropping no album because when I drop, I got to be of a certain level. So I'm going to just keep giving a song here. So I'm like, so you do care about the numbers.
Of course.
So when they say numbers don't matter, it's them trying to ingratiate their fans to be like, please don't think about it. But fans are always going to think about consumption. People talk about rappers like people talk about their favorite ball players, right? Hey, how many points per game? How many rebounds? How many assists? Hey, are you being consumed more than the other person?
Right.
That's all it is.
That's it.
And it's a tangible thing that numbers are going to tell us what it is.
Right.
Right? Now, I think that all numbers should matter. For example, Rod Wave. I went out to Texas. I seen his show. Dude has 14,000 people in Toyota Center. That's really good. We should also think about, hey, how much people do you pull out live? How many people you pull out live? How many people listen to your album DSP? We should think about all numbers. But to say numbers don't matter is to say that you shouldn't have got your record contract because you probably got that record contract based on a very calculated, outlook of what you could gross versus what they could invest, and over a certain time period, and how many albums that is deserving of being in that contract. That's how people running a business here. Mm-hmm. Yo, have you ever heard any smart businessman say, I don't give a fuck about the books. Yeah. We don't care about who gives a fuck about revenue?
Fuck that profit margin.
Yeah, fuck the revenue. We just out here selling chicken. Come on, bro.
It's about the chicken and nothing else.
Yeah, come on. So I get it in what they're trying to say. Like, they don't want to be shamed and they want to still, because sometimes you got to work through it, right? The worst thing for a rapper is inaction. When they're scared to flop so they don't drop.
Yeah.
And, you know.
Cardi B's in that boat right now.
You think so?
When's her last album?
I don't think she's scared of flop. I think she
I think she is.
You think so? I believe
her last album was so big and made such an impact.
Mm-hmm.
And I remember she even like, she's laughing about it. I remember there was a tweet that she retweeted, and it's a picture of her as like an old lady, and it's like, it's 2080, and you know, Cardi B just dropped her sophomore album. You know what I'm saying? She's like, haha, that's pretty funny. Think about it. Like, she's still a viable artist. What's it been, like 8 years since her last album?
Yeah, but if we're thinking about just money-wise, she's still making $300,000 a show.
I understand that, but she hasn't dropped a new body of work.
Okay.
Since then.
And I think we're going to disagree on this, but I do want to hear the commenters on this. And I know I'm going to mention...
2018, it's been 6 years.
You're right.
Yeah.
I mentioned someone who it's actually been 8 years. And when I think about Rihanna, and I know people might be like, oh my God, there's two different artists. I get it. I complete it.
Rihanna's too rich. She launched a side business that completely eclipsed the amount of money she could make in music.
Okay.
That's why she's not dropping. It's not about the the jinx of dropping another album.
I mean, you're right. That of course.
When you're a billionaire, you're not really thinking about albums all that seriously anymore.
But
look at Dr. Dre.
Hold on, but Vlad,
you think Dr. Dre cares about his next album?
No, I guess you, but
Detox never dropped.
Hear what I'm saying, Vlad? For Cardi, this is how an artist thinks. Cardi makes the same amount of money. Like, she's at this like stagnant level. She would make approximately the same amount now as if she did drop an album. There is kind of no upside other than paying off her label.
No, because she can
What do you
go
think?
on. No. Because when she drops an album, she can go on like on a worldwide tour.
She can do that now.
Not in the same way as when you're promoting a new album. You see what I'm saying? When you drop a new album, you have a reason to book a whole ton of dates. Yes, she could technically. No, there'll be more excitement over booking her with her new album than her, hey, this is the girl from the album 6 years ago. We're just going to redo a bunch of those old songs on stage. Nah, that's not going to work. I'm disagreeing with you on this one.
Okay, so I think for her, there's just no urgency.
Listen, she's rich. Like, we all know that. But she hasn't dropped her second album. And she's been doing little features here and there, and that's it.
Let me bring both of those artists together, even though I agree with you, they're worlds apart. Cardi B and also Rihanna. And I've heard this, like, just behind the scenes with even Rihanna. I heard that, hey, listen, there's a lot of pressure coming off of, like, that Anti album is fucking classic.
Right.
If you drop something that's mid, or the people would be like, we wait, which we see all the time. When fans get weight fatigue, where you get to a point, it's like with Detox. You get to the point that nothing will satisfy them. So you kind of tease a couple shit and they're like, we waiting all this time for this? And those artists become, they're almost like, you know what? It's better to stay in the position of them wanting me than me dropping. That's why I believe that, why did Dr. Dre go towards dropping
Compton?
Yeah. Rather than doing Detox? And you were working on that for like forever, right?
Right. And Compton was somewhat mid.
But even then, it alleviated some of the pressure. I do think that with Cardi B, I think she's looking at it. Every song, it's one of the only albums that every song on that album is platinum. Every song.
From first album.
Yes.
Yeah.
Every song. And by the way, it got good reviews.
Yeah,
I think that
album.
She's feeling a lot of pressure of creating something that is that potent and is probably just saying, fuck it, let me live off the hype of that album continuing rather than put something out and then people be like, oh wow, she really ain't it no more. Right?
Yeah, but that's all in your head.
Also,
that's all in your head. You could say that about anything in life. Let me not do anything. Let me choose inaction because I don't want the criticism of when I actually do it.
Well, it's the same with Rihanna, though.
We're all business people. We're all artists in our own way, and we all put out content, you know, whether it's me or you or whether it's musicians or producers or filmmakers. Yes, you got to stick your neck out, and you got to deal with some people loving it and some people hating it. But at the end of the day, you have an amount of inactivity from Cardi that none of her peers have been doing. Nicki's been dropping. Lotto's been dropping. Glorilla's been dropping. Who am I missing girl-wise?
Respectfully, I think
Megan's been dropping. You see what I'm saying?
I think her only peer is Nicki. I think her only peer is Nicki in terms of her level.
Nicki's been dropping. Nicki just dropped a I thought a solid album. In fact, you know me, I'm not one who defends Nicki all the time. But what I did say recently in a tweet, which all the Barbs retweeted, I said, it's ridiculous that Andre 3000 gets nominated for Album of the Year for that bullshit flute album, whereas Nicki had the #1 album with a bunch of big songs on it and went on one of the biggest world tours ever and hasn't even gotten nominated over a bullshit flute album. And people say, well, he's older and to learn a new instrument, it's really hard and it's commendable. The Grammys are not to get you, to pat you on the back and say, hey, good job for someone your age. It's to basically recognize the people at the top of their field.
I agree with you.
Andre 3000 is not Kenny G. Kenny G's a master with the flute and has huge songs that are flute songs. I don't know a single human being that has mentioned anything off of that flute album. Am I right?
I agree with you.
Am I right?
And by the way, I've heard it's just not that good either.
I've heard it. It was just okay. Okay, experimental. I'm proud of him for doing it. But to be nominated for Album of the Year? Are you crazy right now?
This is why sometimes...
fuck the Grammy. The people that are voting for the Grammys, like, y'all really need to be slapped up for that shit. It's ridiculous.
This is why sometimes I feel like maybe name recognition does work, or sometimes they feel like the Grammy does makeup calls, where it's like, hey, you didn't get this for that, so when you drop your next, we're going to just throw you in there.
Right.
They've also accused Oscars of that as well.